This is Straight Talk Africa coming to you live from Washington. Let me come to you again. Perhaps one of the most controversial class cases as far as land reform is concerned happened in the Republic of Zimbabwe. Probably as far back as the year 2000 or around that time. This is a place, obviously, where you had advanced commercial farming, and it seemed to most people, at least who were able to monitor what was going on, that the country was stable. People were fed, they had employment, everything seemed to be working. But once that land was removed from some or majority of the commercial farmers and handed over to the indigenous Zimbabwean farmer, the picture completely changed. How do you explain that?
There is underlining connotations to that, what you just described. Yes, it's true, and factually that happened in terms of food production dropped, chaos set in. But when you look at where the reason behind it, when you have a few people who were not originally from that land coming and are having the prime land, vast amount of hectares of land, even some of them owning as big as one county here.
More than, in fact, 3/4 of the prime land, territory in that country belong to that class of people, about 4,500 commercial farmers.
Absolutely. So the question now is, the question you're asking, which is, how come that there was food available and then now when things are changed, it's no longer available? First of all, there's the issue of, let's go back to the issue of justice in this case. There was food, but the population, the majority of the people were working like slaves for the big farmers.
You mean like under Jim Crow?
Yeah, exactly.
In southern parts of the United States?
Absolutely. They were slaves, food production, but at what cost? And at whose expense, whose blood? So do we continue to keep that going just because there is food production? Absolutely not. In fact, that is something we need to warn ourselves of what is going on, because right now when you have the same process, multinationals galloping thousands, hundreds of thousands of acres of land from the people, and are quarantined, if you would, into tiny, tiny portions. You are setting up a place, you are setting up something for conflict in the future. So the Zimbabwe case is a lesson that African leaders should learn from, because south of Zimbabwe is also South Africa.
South of Limpopo, the river Limpopo. That's where the elephant is.
Yes, so when you see that same thing, that fewer people are living in luxury, and then you have Soweto townships and all of that, people being pushed into the non-fertile lands, and crowded into shanty towns. And then we said, things are stable. No, things are not stable. They are deceptive, because underlying that, people are suffering, there are people who are disenfranchised, there are people who have been dislocated from their land, and a generation of poverty, cycle of poverty that they can never extricate themselves from. I have heard some people say, let's look at Zimbabwe and return the land to the former masters so things can be right. That's not how to do it. I think what would have been better, that it would have been planned systematically by the governance of the country to ensure that when this land is given to others, they provide them the means of generating food and making stable production. So returning to the old way is no longer acceptable.
Saliou, do you agree with the Reverend that perhaps Mugabe, in fact, may have made the right decision, except that perhaps the manner in which it was carried out?
Well, I don't want to judge the decision of Robert Mugabe, but what I know is that when land was taken from the previous owners and given to the indigenous people, what did the government do in terms of accompanying those people to produce quality food to ensure food security? And also, I'm sure there is, I think it all comes with the issue of governance. Because you take the land and give it to people. Not all people are necessarily interested in farming.
Right.
Or if they're interested in farming, not huge amount of land. Therefore, there would be, of course, some breakdown when those who used to produce produce food from those land, the technology that they have, if it is not given to the indigenous people, they would definitely they are going to fail. So I think that is also a mistake. Like Reverend said, that we need to take lessons from there. If we want to help our farmers or to encourage our farmers to take our land and produce it, we should give them the means at the same time, the technology and the resources as well, and the market. Yes.
You talk about, of course, how the issues of land reform or land grabbing and what have you, obviously have a link to the issues of good governance,
yes,
or the absence of it. But what about somebody who might say, wait a minute, when President Robert Gabriel Mugabe did his thing, at the time, Zimbabwe seems to have actually been one of the most democratic countries on the African continent. Are you suggesting that he was not able to consult here?
Well, maybe, but it's, I think, like I say, it's an issue of governance, poor governance probably. You know, maybe there have been also other countries who did not also support his decision. There have been also, let's say,
for example,
I don't want to give names. I don't have exact details, but
I know Zambia, of course, under now late President Mwanawasa, yes, didn't seem to be on the same page with him. Nor did, in fact, Ian Kama, Seretse Kama, the president of Botswana, didn't seem to be on the same page with him.
Yeah, but all I'm trying to say is that as long as this issue is addressed in a fair way, in a just an equitable way, in a transparent way, so that everyone is consulted, both the farmers, the civil society, and the international partners. If all of them are consulted in how to redistribute these land resources, I think there may be less problem than there is now.
Compensation and
Compensation,
what have you.
yeah. Because there will always be frustration.